What's up guys, Bear Game here, back with some more Idle Heroes, and today we're going to be talking about probably the favorite hero of the game for the majority of players, Lord of Fear Aspen. As you already knew, he was already one of the best heroes to pick in the early game. Not your first Transcendence hero, but of course when you do transition to your second Transcendence hero, you get rid of the Fairy Queen Vesa or the Hyperspace Hunter Ilamok, you transition over to Lord of Fear Aspen and you build his first tenant, Scarlet Queen Halora, which just helps buff him even more, and then you keep going, you pushing through Void Campaign, and now that we have Destiny Transition unlocking, we need to just go over one more time his Destiny Transition skill tree, because it's just absolutely bonkers crazy, especially when you compare it to any other hero. He was already one of the strongest heroes. Destiny Transition just pushed him even to a higher tier. I don't think there's any hero you can even list that even compares to him overall, except maybe like G-Ster in PvP scenarios, but again, he kind of requires a team around him. Lord of Fear Aspen is kind of the one-man do-it-all-himself type hero, and unless we get like another overpowered Transcendence hero in the next year, you're gonna see more and more of him. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let's jump right into it. So as you guys know, this hero popping up right here, Lord of Fear Aspen with his Christmas skin, is usually the go-to for any type of PvE boss damage dealing. And the main reason is he does absolutely insane single target damage. You would think it would still be an older hero like, you know, Sword Flash Shia, an assassin built to do single target damage. Nope. In case you didn't know, warriors can do everything in this game that every other hero can do. Oh, you think mages are the crowd control heroes in this game? Haha, sorry. No, Lord of Fear Aspen has pretty much one of the best CC effects in the game. It is a fear effect, meaning when they are feared, there's a couple things that happen. Number one, control effect basically means they can't launch basic attacks, which normally isn't that big of a deal, but when you also combine it with the fact that feared energy, they can potentially lose 50 energy, is pretty huge, meaning you can lock them out of getting their active even if your team is hitting the enemy over and over. At the end of the round, that fear effect can remove that energy and keep them locked down in a fear effect, which again is crazy. But the other thing is, you guys probably always discount, whenever an enemy is inflicted with fear, you also restore HP and 25 energy and attack and control immunity. There's so many ands on this hero, and that's not even counting his sublimations either. Like, he gets the energy oscillation effect, which means more damage whenever he CCs those enemies. Whenever an enemy dies, he gets additional crit damage, which I don't necessarily think goes over the cap, so that's not too big of a deal. Even his basic attack, it has a chance to put the Fear Abyssal Gaze on them, which is just so strong. Absolutely crazy. Reduces their damage reduction, meaning they're going to be taking more damage if they're feared. Granted, the fear effect doesn't work on bosses, but you know what does work on bosses? Demon King's Might. And that's why he is so strong against bosses, especially once they get down when he's sublimed at 59% HP and lower. He just starts wrecking heroes. On top of that, if you also have Giant Killer and Defier, he's pretty much good from like 100 to 0 minus that weird 60 to 70 HP range. And then soon, whenever the S tier versions come out, is going to be pretty nutso. Seeing the additional effect dealing basically the Defier effect, but for the entire HP bar, he's going to be doing even more damage. Now, that kind of just talks about why he's overall really strong. Huge single target damage, has AoE CC, so many different things he's useful for. And then now that Destiny Transition has come out, this is just absolutely bonkers. His base attack isn't anything huge, but essentially reads after releasing 2 active skills, because basically what you're going to get is 6 layers of transition power every time he releases an active skill. So essentially, after releasing 2 active skills, if self owns 12 or more layers, you consume those layers and deal an additional 2,000 attack damage to the enemies in the same position. So that's even more damage going into that single target boss that just adds up and goes crazy. Granted, if you're going up against a wave that doesn't have a boss, there's also a 50% chance to inflict fear on them, which is cool, but I think this acts as kind of like a single target effect. He does have some really good additional damaging abilities as well. If for some reason you want to reduce the target's energy, that's cool. Most people are going to pick this one here because this is the biggest damage cap at 1500% of his attack, or it just deals an additional 1000 attack damage to the targets. I don't really know when you'd use this one, honestly. This one, the only time I can think is if for some reason they have very low HP and you're not going to hit like 8%. It's just weird unless you're going to hit 8% before 1000% of his attack, but that's really hard to figure out, really hard to see. Additionally, you can reduce the target's attack, their armor, or their speed. So if you're going for more damage, reduce their armor. Otherwise, survivability reduces their attack, and this is when it starts getting really, really good. So right here, if the target's HP is no less than 50, additionally deals 1200% attack damage. Additionally deals 800% to all enemies, so that's a nice AoE, or give yourself control immunity. That one we don't care about. This one's really big because it gives 2 more damage abilities that could really, really add up. When you jump down here, you can give yourself 15% all damage dealt for 2 rounds as well. That should be 100% uptime after your second round of combat. You can also increase your speed if for some reason you want to try to outspeed the enemy, but it's really weird in most game modes right now. You're either way faster than the enemy or like way slower and you can't catch up. So you can just get more healing, do more all damage. That's fine. And then the last note here is really spicy because this basically takes and completely unlocks your additional skill. So if you remember here, when you get to 12 layers, it consumes them and then deals 2000 attack damage. What this one does is after releasing active skills, if you own them, you still consume them, but you deal 1500% attack damage to all enemies 2 times. So this one is in the same position. So this is the same position across from you. So it's only going to hit the boss, whereas this one is dealing 3000% of attack because it hits twice, which also gets extra holy damage and effects like that. Skill damage gets added on twice, all those things, and it's to all enemies with a 100% chance to inflict Fear Abyssal Gaze on them and reduce their attack. So getting him to this is going to be absolutely huge because not only is it a better single target skill because it's now dealing 2 applications of 1500% instead of 1 application of 2000%, it's also doing it to all enemies. So if this is a game mode where there actually are other enemies on the battlefield, that finally becomes relevant. And of course, the other thing is a lot of things we don't talk about. I personally really like his Noble Core of Origin. A lot of people kind of just ignore it when we're doing a lot of game modes, but I've used his core even on my spender account quite often. At the beginning of the battle, grants all allies 1 layer of devil armor. That devil armor gives increased control immunity by 15% for 3 rounds, and it slowly decreases, but sometimes you just need to get through that first round or so without being CC'd, and it helps a ton. However, if Lord of Fear Aspen defeats an enemy, he grants all allies an additional layer of devil armor. When an ally releases basic attacks or active skills to a feared enemy, he will also follow up with like an additional attack hit, which is really good if he's your main damage dealer. And then this is the part I really like. Whenever an enemy is feared, increases all allies except himself, attack by 4% and damage reduction by 3%. So if you hit like an entire back row and fear them, that's 4 of them. That means your whole team, besides himself, is getting 12% damage reduction and 16% attack, and that's nothing to scoff at. So there's a reason why he's picked by majority people in the game, and there's a reason why he's going to continue to be the go-to, because let's be honest, Destiny Transition is the new power gain, and as we know, the biggest thing to accomplish right now isn't even Void Campaign. It's getting these Void Campaign bosses, these Void Invasion bosses down, because they give you tons of Scattered Spirit Vein and Aurora Gems. Not only that, but they also give a good chunk of Stellar Shards. That's literally 30 cores of Transcendence worth of Stellar Shards and 15 worth of right here, the Crystals of Transcendence. So let me know what you guys think. If you have not made him your main damage dealer on your account, you're probably lacking. Granted, there is some strategies that go for Doom Terminator Vulcan. However, to be honest, from me being like an absolutely loving of this hero, his abilities just don't stack up in comparison. Like, they're just not as good. They don't do extra damage. They just more or less buff your team. But if that's what you're looking for, it can work out. However, if you need more versatility and just raw damage, Lord of Fear Aspen is your man. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Make sure you build this hero. I'll see you guys next time.